They've got Houston on one side, Texans on the other. The Eagles are undefeated, and it's just the 6th time in franchise history that these two teams have faced each other. We're going to get you caught up on the top stories of the week, starting lineups, and we're going to go one-on-one with Tremon Smith. Texans Unlimited Live, presented by Verizon, starts now.
Welcome to our coverage of Houston Texans football.
Need some juice, need some energy, and just do your job.
Let's go, Texans!
Let's go!
Welcome into Texans Unlimited Live, presented by Verizon. It's Week 9, it's Battle Red Week, it's the Eagles, it's the Texans, it's Thursday Night Football, and these Texans fans have been wanting to see these new helmets. Tonight they'll get their first look at them. We saw them back in training camp. Texans will be wearing them for the first time tonight, and the field looks a little different because it is painted red, and we've got lots to get to because it's going to be a tough matchup for the Texans against an undefeated 7-0 Eagles team that comes in here today. Texans would love to hand them their first loss. Drew Doherty, my good friend, welcome in.
Great to be here with you.
These helmets as well.
Oh, they're awesome. Hey, listen, you and I, for the last decade, one of us or both of us in tandem have basically answered fan questions in a fan mailbag in one form or fashion once a week pretty much for the last decade. Like I said, every single time we've answered questions, there have been 2 or 3 that said, hey, when are the Texans going to change their uniforms? Well, they're not changing much, but they're adding a new helmet tonight. But as we heard earlier in the week, the changes are going to be coming in the years to come.
More changes coming.
This is one little step in that process, and it's fun. I can't wait to see what it looks like as a full team. We've seen some of the specialists out there. Dare Gumbawale got his red helmet on, and I can't wait. They're going to get tested, like you said, against a great Philadelphia Eagles team. But hey, we've seen stuff like this happen before. Texans toppled an undefeated Bengals team on Monday Night Football back in 2015.
They sure did.
So why
Absolutely.
not then?
And it's also World Series Game 5,
Yes.
and our very own Drew Doherty is going to be updating everyone with
Go
big play
Stros.
updates for the Astros throughout the game, so that way you won't miss a single thing if you're here at the game. They'll also have the game playing throughout the concourse. But let's get into some of your quick hits presented by BMW, top stories of the week. The Eagles undefeated. The Texans are looking for their second win of the season. Lovie Smith, it's been a tough start for him in his first season as head coach of the Houston Texans, but he talked about what it takes to keep this team positive moving forward.
How many games? Well, it's just that. There's a lot of football left to go. And I say, probably more teams are maybe disappointed in their record right now as opposed to really, besides the Eagles and a few more, most of us are, searching for momentum, good things that happen. That's why we're excited there's that many games to go. That's where we are. So how do we keep them up? They're excited. We have a Battle Red game coming up. National TV audience against an undefeated team. That's enough to get everybody on our football team really pumped up.
And Eagles quarterback Jalen Hurts has won 10 consecutive starts dating back to the final 3 games of the 2021 season. Texans DB Steven Nelson, he actually played alongside him last season with the Eagles. He talked about what a huge challenge Jalen Hurts presents to this Texans defense.
Tremendous leader. He has the respect of all his guys. Competitor. He can get it done a lot of different ways on the ground and with his arm as well.
And Texans quarterback Davis Mills is slated to start his 10th home game for the Houston Texans. In his previous 9 starts, he's recorded 17 touchdowns to just 4 interceptions. But after last week's loss at against Tennessee, Davis Mills talked about what it's going to take to get this offense clicking sooner.
Yeah, even the last play of the last drive of the game, we had to convert a 4th and 6. So we're still using all 4 of the downs, and it was still a struggle to move down the field at that point. Obviously, they're a very talented defense we played last week. Obviously, I got that game circled for later in the year to maybe change up some things and change the outcome. But, I felt at the end of the game we were able to be efficient. I extended some plays with my legs and found some guys downfield. Kind of that 2-minute mode. Don't have to think much. You're able to just go out there and play free and try to make a play, and that's what we did. So I wish we could have done that a little sooner in the game.
And Davis Mills is going to have to do it today without a few starters in his lineup. Let's get to the inactives right away with Drew Doherty.
That's right. No Brandon Cooks tonight. That's the big one. That is a pretty big loss, and we'll see if he comes back and he plays again. But he's not playing tonight, that's for sure. Neither will Nico Collins for the second straight week in a row. He is inactive. And Malik Collins, of course, no relation, but he's on the defensive line. He's not going to go, and that's tough because Lovie Smith has described him as the engine of the defense. Yadam, Deculus, and Hewitt not going to go, and Justin McCray, who had to start last week at right guard, he is inactive as well. So those are the guys, and obviously there's going to be a lot of questions about Cooks. What's next? Odd situation, to say the very least, and there's the Eagles that won't start, won't suit up. You got Book, Scott, Sermon, Sills, and Apetta. So they will not play tonight, but Cooks, Collins, two of your best receivers, not suiting up for the Texans this evening.
Yeah, and I think it's worth noting that the Texans made a few transactions yesterday. They brought up Tavier Thomas and Tegan Quatoriano. They're both going to make their 2022 debuts. For Tegan, it'll be his first start in the NFL. Both of them started the season on IR. Their window to practice had been activated, and now they are on the active roster. They are active for tonight's game. So hopefully that adds a boost to special teams, to the defense, and to the tight ends group as well. And missing from your list, Drew, A.J. Cann, who did not play last week with an illness. It's good to see him back in the starting lineup.
Sure is. Yeah, it is good to have your starting offensive line back. So those guys are going to suit up. Davis Mills there. He's got to play better than he did last week. The offense as a whole, everybody struggled. You had part of that due to what Tennessee was able to do and what they have there in Jeffrey Simmons. But Davis must have a much, much better game. He's going to need to lean on Dameon Pierce, who he had a couple long runs, but other than that, he was met basically when he took the handoff in the backfield by the Titans defense last week. They got a big push up the middle and really made things tough on the rookie. And, coming into last week's game, the previous four, he had averaged 20 carries and 100.5 yards on the ground. So let's see him do what he was doing before last week.
Yeah, let's get into some of your fan questions presented by Dyke, and I know everyone wants to know how the lineup's going to shake up tonight. And we're going to get right into it with JJ, who says, how do you think Philip Dorsett will be utilized tonight? And I think, JJ, he's going to be a big part of this offense without two of your leading wide receivers in the lineup. No Brandon Cooks, no Nico Collins. And we saw what Philip Dorsett was able to do at Las Vegas. He brings some speed. And I'd like to see them stretch the length of the field a little bit with Philip Dorsett, get some big plays going. It's something they were not able to do last week. But, when Philip Dorsett is in the lineup, he brings that speed element. And, he can get open. He's a veteran. I'd like to see that connection. And I think he's going to be your top threat in the receiving game today.
Yeah, you would think so. He and Chris Moore probably going to be the guys. That is unless, of course, Davis Mills goes to the tight ends and tries to hit them a little bit more as you see some more Texans filing onto the field. And I got to say it again, those battle red helmets are gorgeous. You see number 88. You see number 4 there, but 88, Jordan Akins, he's had a nice go of it here in his second stint, so to speak, as a Texan. You got to remember, signed with the Giants, was cut during camp, and then the Texans brought him back right as the season was starting. But he's been outstanding since he's come back to Houston, and he might get more involved tonight. There's Dameon Pierce, though, number 31. And he has been the most electrifying player on this squad. And it's interesting, Christian wants to know, can the Texans attack the Eagles' run defense with Dameon? Well, they got a plan to. You must. If you have any chance in this ball game, it's going to be because that guy has a big, big night, and we know that he's capable of such things.
I mean, they're 15th in the league against the run, which, is good. It's
solid.
It's solid, but when you look at the rest of their numbers, that's probably their one weak spot if they have a weak spot on defense. And Jordan Davis, who is a rookie, who is a big part of that defensive line right there in the middle. He was placed on IR yesterday. He's a big part of that run-stopping defense. So you would think if there's any advantage that this Texans team could take, it'd be running Dameon Pierce more so. He still leads all the rookies in rushing yards, even with a relatively small number of rushing yards last week. So I think that should be the plan of attack for the Texans, to try to get the ball. They've talked about wanting to be a run-first or run-heavy team. They want to be able to get the run game going. It opens things up for the passing game. So I expect a lot of Dameon Pierce. Maybe we'll even see him in the passing game as well.
Yeah, DB, in each of the last 3 weeks leading up to the game, we've heard from the defensive coordinator on the other side of the ball sing Pierce's praises. I mean, this week it was Jonathan Gannon, who he, of course, interviewed for the Texans head coaching job last winter. But
look at he's catching passes. Just
and
like
he can do that. That's something he definitely can do. But
More of that, please.
Gannon was saying, listen, I don't often say this in front of my defensive guys, but we bring his picture up. We talk about him specifically, Pierce, and what a threat he can be. So they know what Pierce can do. They're going to have to be very, very cognizant of him, and they will. But the Texans got hopefully some tricks of their own up their sleeves and can get Pierce and the running backs and the offense going more so like it was going 2 weeks ago than it was last Sunday against the Titans.
Yeah, there's Rex Burkhead. You saw Dare Gumbawale and some of the other backs there. Troy Hairston as well. Also caught a few passes as a fullback.
Right.
I had a chance to catch up with him earlier this week. But Taylor says, how do you game plan for a quarterback like Jalen Hurts? It's a great question because what he does so well is that he protects the ball. He doesn't turn it over. He's only got 2 interceptions to 10 touchdowns. And with a receiver like A.J. Brown, it just seems like they just have this chemistry that's unstoppable. I know Levy talked about the RPOs and how, that's a big part of their offense. I think the best way to stop or slow down Jalen Hurts is to just keep him off the field altogether. And I think that's a big part of the run game. If the Texans can dominate time of possession, get these long drives going on the field, run the ball, I think that's your best defense, is just to keep a guy like that off the field.
Couldn't have said it better myself. I mean, yeah, the more your offense is on the field, the better your defense is going to look. But yeah, you gotta chew up the clock, get the time of possession going, get some double-digit play drives happening. I'm in 100% agreement with you.
Yeah, would love to see that. And Jordan wants to know who steps up in the Texans pass catcher group. I think we showed you a little bit of Philip Dorsett earlier, but I think the tight ends, let's not count out the tight ends. We saw O.J. Howard, Jordan Akins. We saw what they were able to do. Brevin Jordan, he's had a quiet return from injury. Came back against Vegas. They've tried to get him the ball a few times. He's maybe with each game, he's building a little bit more and more chemistry. And then Tegan Pretoriano, the rookie, he is actually playing in tonight's game for the first time since being drafted by the Texans. So I expect to see some of these veteran tight ends, especially to step up in the pass-catching game, because they are so dependable out there on the field with their hands.
No doubt. And Chris Moore has quietly had a nice season as well, number 15. He's been doing some really good things, as you see number 9 there, Brevin Jordan, slapping some hands and getting ready to stretch. But Javari, interestingly enough, asks, will we expect Tyron Johnson a lot tonight? We just saw him. He's active. He's going to be out there. Didn't see much of him last week. He did get some snaps on offense. Did not get the ball thrown his way. Maybe that changes tonight because he's somebody that the Texans thought enough of, to make active. I mean, he didn't just get brought in here to be on the practice squad. He was a practice squad or elsewhere, and this is his 3rd time around with the Texans. Haven't seen him in regular season action in Houston, but tonight could be the night. Does he get a deep ball thrown his way? Because he's got speed. He's got that possibility to do something. And before we go do an interview with Tremon Smith, Jacqueline has this. She says, I love the red helmets. Well, Jacqueline, me too. And I'm going to speak for you, DP. You love them too.
I love him. I love him with the white pants. I love him with the red socks. And look at Chris Moore with the red shoes. I liked it as well. I think it all looks sharp. All right. Tremon Smith, 2 forced fumbles on special teams so far this year. He's been killing it on special teams. Our very own Drew Doherty had a chance to catch up with him a little earlier in the week.
It's time to break down the game to come. We're going to do so with defensive back and one of the best special teamers in Texans history. It's Tremon Smith. Tremon, good to be with you. Let's talk about, you're welcome. Let's talk about where this team is headed, the mind frame, all that stuff. Tough game on Sunday, but you got to flip around and get ready for a Thursday nighter. How nice is that you get to flush things like you do?
It was good, coming off that loss, division loss, one we should have won and had the ability to win. We just got to start off faster and just do the little things, less penalties, convert on turnovers, convert in the red zone, just little stuff like that. So once we get that rolling, we'll be good. It's the only way we can't go is up since we just lost. So I'm excited about that.
Right. And, you often hear the phrase, things are never as bad as they seem, and they're never really as good as they seem either. So with all that in mind, and it's kind of a perfect thing to think about who's coming to town and what you guys just did, right? It's pretty accurate?
Right. Once we watched the film, it actually broke it down. Like you said, it didn't look as bad as we thought it was watching it come Sunday. But, we got a good opponent coming in. Of course, one of the best team in the NFL right now if you go by record. So we just got to read our keys, do the little things, don't penalize ourselves, and just wrap up, make tackles, eliminate the big plays.
You're a perfect guy to talk to because you play defense, you play special teams. Let's start with the defensive side of things. This offensive attack that they have, Jalen Hurts, he's a special quarterback. He does many different things very, very well. What do you see? What's the challenge that presents itself when you face a guy like Hurts?
I think our disguises are going to be big for us. Stopping the run, put him in long, non-manageable third downs, make them try to air it out. They got good receivers in Quez Watkins, of course, Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown, but as long as we minimize them to their big games and keep the deep ball off us, we'll be real good and be gap sound in the run game.
How tricky is that to prepare for a team like that, for an offense like that has, you mentioned a few of the receivers, but the running backs are good, the tight ends are excellent, offensive line, fantastic.
It's tough. That means we all just got to be on our keys and just do all the little things right, just from being in our gaps, from making open field tackles, because they're going to have open field plays eventually in the game throughout, and we just got to make those tackles in place.
Special teams wise, you don't get to 7-0 if you're not doing things well there.
Right.
What do you see from the Eagles?
They got a great special teams coordinator, great special teams scheme. You know, they got a great kicker in Elliott. I played with them for a little bit actually. Did an off season with them, so I'm pretty familiar with their system. But you know, they're coached to play hard, be disciplined. So we just got to come out there, out-physical them and out-discipline them.
Seems like every time there's a special team snap this year, you're either knocking the ball loose or tackling the return or getting a return. Or really, I say getting a return, they're kind of scared to kick to you almost after they saw the touchdown last year.
Yes, sir.
What's this year been like on special teams? Because despite the record, special teams has been excellent for the Texans.
Yeah, we're just trying to be the spark for our team. You know, we've been getting out to a lot of slow starts, whether we start on defense or offense. So, and you know, special teams always come first, no matter how you start the game. So we pride ourselves in taking the field, being that energy spark for the team, and we take pride in that.
All right, how much of a spark do you think those battle red helmets are going to give you guys?
Oh my, I can't wait, and I'm taking mine home right after the game.
Taking yours home after the game, you're going to keep it, huh?
I already told Darwin. Yeah, I love that battle red though. It's going to be a great look, and I love the red end zones as well.
Yeah, those look cool. He says he told Darwin. That's of course the guy who's running the equipment room,
manager.
and he's kind of the guy that runs it all if you think about it. Well, Tremon, we really appreciate the time. Thanks so much, and best of luck against the Eagles.
Yes, thanks for having me.
Good stuff from Tremon Smith. I know he's itching to get a touchdown on special teams. I think Lovie Smith would love to see it as well. But let's get into our sleeper picks of the game presented by Mattress Firm. I am going to go with a guy that we have not seen this year, Tavier Thomas. It's not Tavier. Lovie Smith wants to make sure everybody knows his name is pronounced Tavier. He had a pick six in 2021 against the Chargers. And so we'd like to see some scores here on special teams, on defense, wherever, in addition to offensive touchdowns as well. So I'm going to go Tavier. He's number 2. He changed his number in camp, and he's back today. And that's my pick. Drew, how about you?
Great choice, by the way. He was the only defender to score last year for the Texans. So let's get that going, like you mentioned. I'm going to go with Chris Moore. You don't have Cooks, you don't have Nico Collins, so you got to have somebody at wide receiver who does something. And we've seen him have some big, long touchdowns over the last 2 seasons. Not many, but from time to time, he's had a big play. Let's get a couple of those tonight. Let's keep those chains moving, and let's be a guy who Davis Mills can rely upon.
All right, I like it. I like it a lot. Hopefully one of these guys will be our big sleepers of the game, and we'll be talking to you with a win in just a few hours. We are about 41 minutes away from kickoff. If you want to catch this game, it's on My 20 locally. It's on Amazon Prime. Nationally, you can also listen along on Sports Radio 610. That's going to do it for Texans Unlimited Live, presented by Verizon. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great Battle Red Day. And as always, go Texans.